Welcome to Shiny New Clients, the marketing podcast that helps you attract shiny new clients to your business. We'll talk about social media, what makes people buy, how to go viral, and marketing psychology, all in 20 minutes or less. Whether you're a coach, a stylist, or a wedding planner, if you've got a service-based business to sell, this is the show you need to fill your calendar. I'm Jenna Warriner, your new marketing coach, and this is Shiny New Clients. Can you even fathom the number 60 billion? We have a hard time fathoming these big numbers, which, I think is one of the reasons we're so hard on ourselves when it comes to social media and how we can have thousands of people looking at us and feel like we're not moving the needle at all. But 60 billion. So a million is 1,000 thousands, right? So I don't want to talk down to you, but like 60 billion is a massive number. And that is what the online course industry is expected to be valued at in 2025. Apparently, the online learning industry has been growing exponentially, like 10% year over year or something. It is a huge industry. And the reason I'm talking about it is because it's a pretty natural progression for a service provider to want to become a course creator. That is what I did, right? I started as a service provider with a social media management agency. We scaled that up. We brought on more team members, and I quickly realized I could serve way more people by teaching a woman to fish, right? Instead of giving a woman a fish. Since a lot of my listeners are interested in possibly becoming a course creator, or maybe you already are a course or membership creator yourself, I'm introducing this small series called Convos with Course Creators. If you see a Shiny New Clients episode that starts with conversations with course creators and then someone's name, that means in that episode, we are interviewing a successful course creator about how they ideated their course, how it came to be, how they've scaled it, what got them to where they were, what made them so successful, things like that. And my hope for this series is that, of course, as always, you have actionable takeaways, but also that you can see that you have this within reach as a possibility. If you want to become a course creator, you absolutely can. And I'm going to introduce you to a bunch of successful course creators who are people just like you. With that, I present the episode. My Threads is inundated with small business owners. It makes sense because that's what I post about and that's who I follow. And I follow people that talk to small business owners. That's all small business owners. And I saw someone on there who was sort of venting. We're talking a newer business owner. Maybe you can relate to this in your first 3 to 5 years, who goes online and finds all this information that is high level and mindset-y and doesn't actually give a step-by-step, play-by-play on how to do things. And my marketing brain was saying, yeah, I mean, that's the case, right? You pay someone to give you the step-by-steps. Free information is typically a little bit more high level. But because I have this platform, because I have this podcast and the opportunity to give you what you want, which is how to and how are other people doing it? And what does it look like behind the scenes in other businesses? I've invited a guest here today. This is Janna Markir, who is the owner and lead trainer at Janna's Pack Canine Training, dog training company that she owns. She's one of my clients, and we're going to talk to her about the explosive growth and success that she has had on Instagram, where she started, where she's going, and what changed. Hi, Janna.
Hi, Jenna.
I surround myself in Jennas and Jennas and Ginas. It's like my whole life.
That sounds incredibly hard to say all the time.
Janna's Pack Canine Training.
Yeah. So I'm in Raleigh, North Carolina. I've been in business now for just over a year. I've been working with dogs since 2001. And over the last year, I've been focusing now on behavior cases, difficult dogs, reactive dogs, aggressive dogs, and the highly anxious dogs.
Did you find your way into that niche because of like passion or because there was a hole in the market? What made you steer more towards the more difficult pups?
When I got started with my own dog as a first-time dog mom, I was blessed with the dog that I didn't exactly want, but you need kind of thing. And she was quite difficult herself. We spent about a year working with a local, really popular trainer that had really great, Google reviews and at a really great facility nearby. And just doing traditional, like rewards based treat training, obedience. And my dog was great there for the most part. And then behind the scenes at home, we were really still struggling with some really intense behavior issues like handler aggression, resource guarding. She couldn't be away from me without just like screaming in her crate. It was just kind of a nightmare to live with her. And I couldn't have people over because I couldn't trust her around other people in the absence of like my trainer or being at the facility. And I had this whole vision for being a dog mom and having a dog. And that's why I got one. And we couldn't do any of it. And I was just so brokenhearted all the time because I couldn't trust my dog. And like, I remember I went to brunch with a friend at one point and I was covered in like bruises and bite marks. And she joked, she was like, you could never be a hand model. And I was like, no, I couldn't. Like,
Oh my God.
it was like really bad. It was dangerous, frankly. After about a year of all of that, we were at the training center still for about 10 months total. And we were spending about 2 to 3 days there. We were spending even more time there because then I was doing demonstrations with her at the center in obedience, like treat training land for like other owners and starting to coach and mentor other owners there alongside me who were struggling, but the staff was struggling to connect with and communicate with and get them to understand what they needed to do. And so they asked me to start doing it because we were getting it. And it was just like this slippery slope into me becoming a dog trainer. I started exploring the advice and studying the work of some other experts outside of that style of dog training and explored a whole different type. And about a month later, my dog was just like a totally different dog.
As you jumped into this, where were your initial clients coming from? Where were you finding people?
So I went on Meetup and I started a local community pack walk for free for difficult reactive dogs. And I had a few people show up there who kept coming back week over week for help. And then I decided to start leaning into marketing on Instagram. And I wanted to start boarding and training as well. And I hadn't yet. And so I reached out to one of the people who was going to the pack walk and I offered to train her dog for free because I needed someone who trusted me enough and all of that ultimately to let me have their dog in my home and to work with them behind the scenes and just all of that. And I offered her free training and I started documenting it on Instagram. So that's pretty much where it started. Aside from just like some light tips and tricks and like low key education that I had been posting before, that's really what kicked it off.
Those are such savvy decisions. So finding a community of real humans that you can connect with out in public. I think sometimes we get so caught up in the massive numbers, right? We want thousands of views, we want trillions of followers, but 10 people willing to meet up with you in your neighborhood and then some of them converting to clients, that's huge. And then you have an impact and then you grow your personal network.
Right. And I think too, for a lot of service providers, we do need some kind of social proof, right? I think that's something a lot of people struggle with right away. It's like, I don't have anything to show yet. And it's like, maybe going online first isn't the best place to get that, right? Maybe it is going out to your neighbors and your family and just finding the people who maybe they don't need a full 6-week dog training package, but maybe they do, who knows, right? And just like starting to find someone who needs help and helping them. And conveniently, you have a smartphone with a camera that you can document it. And now you have some kind of social proof to show. And it can be messy and you don't really know what you're doing. But that for me always feels like a good first step, I think, for someone that's like, I don't know where to start. Because I do hear that a lot in the online space. And I felt that way myself at first. I started my Instagram probably, 3 or 4 months, like steadily before this actual, I need a dog to train. Like I need to find humans to connect with and like started really doing that.
And one of the first steps inside my program, Magic Marketing Machine, is we say, bring the outside in. It's okay if your entire universe doesn't exist on this app. This should complement what's already happening in real life and vice versa, right? You are one holistic business. So meet someone and bring them over to your Instagram. Find someone on Instagram, bring them out into real life. I really liked one thing that you said. You kind of threw shade a little, which I love. You said, I started documenting this process on Instagram, not just doing the normal tips and tricks. I think what you mean by that is when people think I have to make content, the first thing that comes to mind is tips and tricks. It's like low hanging fruit. Is that kind of what you meant where you didn't want to just do that?
What I kind of meant by that is and this, I don't know if it's shade in your industry or mine, frankly, but you hear a lot about how to get started on Instagram. And it's like, go see what your competitors are doing to see see if it's working for them.
No, no, don't.
I know. It's like, oh man, that leads a lot of people in my industry to doing what I've discovered to be kind of shady and what I consider to be a shady practice, which is, leading people to think that any tip or trick alone is going to be enough to get you over the finish line on something big and serious like reactivity, aggression, or severe anxiety. There's just a lot of noise like, oh yeah, go and you need to post the little tips and the checklists. And it's like all of these quick grabs, and you see what other people are doing in my industry. And that's what's working for a lot of people is kind of, in my opinion, I don't know, whether it's predatory or they just don't know any better. Right.
Well,
but
I have lots of opinions on it, obviously. This concept of, well, that's what's working, because as soon as someone tells me, I'm going to be on a soapbox for a second here, but like as soon as someone tells me what other people in their industry are doing, and then I say, don't look at them, do your own thing, be like Janna, create your own series of following yourself along. Like you did something different than other people, didn't take that much work, didn't take that much brain to come up with. Like you can do it. Everyone has access to this. You just need to be open to seeing things differently. So as soon as you tell someone not to look at what their competitors are doing, they then argue, I've been in this conversation a trillion times. They then argue, but it's working for them. And then I argue, how do you know that? Because one, they're telling you they could be lying. Two, you see their numbers. You do not see their sales, right? You do not see their lifetime customer value. You do not see them necessarily closing in the DMs. You don't actually know that. We just use that as like,
you don't see them confidently selling usually either. That's, I think, a big thing I see in my industry. And I feel for trainers, right? Because it's a precarious situation to be in, to like sell to people that are struggling and going through hardship. Like it's very much like being in a health or wellness kind of space. It can feel icky, but when you know that you have something really good to offer and you're confident talking about it, and you're willing to like distinguish yourself apart from everyone else. I don't know if you know me, but I'm not the person in my industry trying to make friends in my industry. Like that's my kind of vibe. The people who F with me do, right? And the people who don't. And I'm cool with that because that's not why I started a business, was to make friends. I really did start this business to help people. When you have something good, you should stand on that. And if you aren't ready for that, right? I think maybe it's worth going out into the world and getting some experience and just showing people what you can do, because you copying other people too doesn't guarantee that that's giving anyone any more information about you. Like there's 10,000 trainers you could work with. Why would you want to work with me if I'm doing the same thing as everyone else?
True. You want your industry differentiators. All right. So I promised the people some like step by step. So can you tell us a bit about the things that you've implemented on Instagram? Because you've had some major sales come through from Instagram, some major launches, some roller coaster moments. So what has been working for you?
Absolutely. So what has been working for me is sitting down and looking at what differentiates me. What am I doing differently? And when it comes to my work with my clients, what are the unique things that are actually propelling them forward that no one's told them before? What are the real juicy bits, the real aha moments, essentially? Because I think when it comes to my marketing, what's been most effective is the authority side of it, and really learning how to speak directly to the person who's looking for a dog trainer to stop difficult, unwanted behavior and get on a better track to love life with a calmer dog. And when I started speaking directly to them and speaking to not just the pain point, but leading them towards the solution softly, consistently. Like, hey, it doesn't have to be that hard. And hey, the way you're doing it, if it was going to work, I already would. And when you're ready to like have it be easier, I'm here.
I feel like so if we broke down like all those items,
we broke down those steps.
That's like basically all the different templates in Magic Marketing Machine. It's like, okay, now make them feel this, now make them feel that. And so it feels like you've really taken on those bits of marketing psychology. And at the end of the day, it's messaging, right? And we worked on that for a minute. Even the way that your face looked when you said the result and you said that elevator pitch, which we work on a ton in the program. It was like, oh, she's so clear. It's saying what she does and the result her clients get. I wonder why. That's so good.
I really, really spent a minute on that because picking the one person was hard. I'll say that. I think that's the first step and that was really one of the big groundbreaking moments for not just, my content, right? But my business overall was when I started speaking to one person very confidently and decided that it's going to resonate with some, but not all. And that's fine. But just being able to speak about all of the things to that one person that they need to know to make a choice that's going to be good for them, that they're going to feel good about, has been so helpful without as much hard selling, right? And without having to do the tips and the tricks thing that I know isn't helping. Sure, there's tips and tricks as it relates to my program, right? That would help them know, oh, okay, if that works, what else she got, kind of like you do, right? You see that all in your content. I mean, I've followed you and watched you run your own program on your audience for months and months before I was like, okay, all right, I'm in. I want my clients to feel that committed too. Something about my program that's really changed since joining Magic Marketing Machine is seeing how effective it can be, like how effective a funnel can actually be, right? From the second, you follow along to just the way that you say it again and you say it again, you say it differently, and then you say it with a hat on and like, and like all of the things. I think about so many pieces of your content that have connected back to your program. I'm like, okay, now I see.
Wait, was that my joke? The hat on?
That was your joke. Yeah,
Oh.
you have a post like that.
All right, I remember. That's funny.
Mm-hmm. And like without being, like you said, without being slimy has always been something that's really appealed to me. I've always felt really very much so like I wanted to follow an approach that felt good for me. And to do that, I needed to start figuring out who that one person was. Because that's the only way it works.
Yeah. Yeah. And I heard that advice, honestly, for a century before it really dropped in how literal it is. Like that is, I literally mean today in the workshop this morning that we ran for Magic Marketing Machine members, someone was filling out a template and they said, it makes you feel frustrated or depressed. And I was like, feel one feeling at once. Am I frustrated or am I depressed? Literally choose and speak to one person. And if the depressed person reads this and it doesn't hit, that's okay because it's going to hit home so much deeper for the frustrated person,
right.
So, and you establish like, it makes sense that you would want a more quote unquote feminine marketing and sales strategy because you have a values-based business and your values are important to you and you have sensitive subject matter because your people are in turmoil. And so it makes sense that you wouldn't want to feel like you're prodding pain points and shoving them through a funnel. You want to welcome them in, make them feel safe. Like you said, make sure your customers feel comfortable with you so you can help them in exchange for money.
Exactly. Since also starting to expand like my money mindset, which I know isn't directly in Magic Marketing Machine, but it is when you start to really get comfortable with the messaging and you start to get comfortable with the type of client that you're speaking to, you start to realize that this is going to be the type of client you're serving over and over and over again. And you quickly build repertoire with that type of person and you start learning how to even hone in on it harder and harder. Like with every client that joins, you figure out how much closer you are to actually speaking to your ideal client. And then once you see the numbers start to turn and all, it's like, okay, great. Let me double down. You know what I mean?
That is such, honestly, like go back 15 seconds, listen to her say that again. I feel like you said that so clearly, and that's such a good point. And it also illustrates like you're not going to get it right the first time. You're going to keep chipping away at your messaging, getting it stronger and stronger, meeting more people. It's not even about creating it. It's about watching the people come in and interacting with them, making it stronger that way, and really honing the practice of listening to them.
Yep. Yeah. It was hard for me too. I'll say that because like I am my last client. Like I am my client. I am my ideal audience, right? Because I was that person, but I'm no longer in that place. And so psychologically, it's harder for me too to speak the same language. And so even for me, it's only been several years since I was struggling with a really super difficult, nasty dog. But to just go back to the market research and be like, okay, what are the people saying to me right now? Because that's what I need to be saying if I want to be helping people solve those problems. And those problems very well may be different from how I would have described them.
Yes.
Right. And particularly now, 3 years into the industry, which isn't that long, but it's just long enough to shift the way that I would articulate myself or something in it.
Yeah, 100%. Janna, people can work with you virtually, right?
Yes, my program's available fully online across the world.
So where should we go to find out more about your program?
You can go directly to my Instagram at Janna's Pack. That's JANNASPACK at Janna's Pack. And if you're interested in finding out if the program would be a good fit for you, I'd be happy to do a free behavior assessment and consultation. Just reach out to me with the code from the show notes. And then for anyone who'd like to sign up from there, I do have a 50% off coupon.
Awesome. Thank you, Janna.
You're welcome. Thank you so much.